All right. First rule of the channel, we not talk about this channel. Second rule of the channel, this is not legal advice. So this is going to be chasing the dragon for week 3 of fantasy football. This is going to be the reactive waiver wire show. In general, I don't know how competitive everybody's leagues are. I was looking at some of the guys that are available in certain leagues, and I was a little surprised, especially because some of them popped up in my more competitive league, because those guys they move on very quickly, looking after like week winners or league winners. So if these guys are available in your leagues, like I understand, some of them probably should have been rostered. I don't know how competitive your league is. In this case, like Sam Darnold should have already been rostered. I would be tracing those 4 touchdown passes that he had week 3 in general. Like I was talking about him in the offseason, going after him. Gonna have in certain weeks a little bit nibbly bimbly. Right now, the knee injury does not look like it's severe. Would probably be going after other guys with higher ceilings, but again, I probably would guess at this point he's going to finish as a top 10 quarterback. So if you just want to have like one of those guys that are a little bit set and forget, the one other thing with Sam Darnold is that Green Bay week 4 and the Jets week 5, I probably would not be interested rolling him. And then week 6 is a bye week. Don't know about the Lions. And then we can start talking about like a schedule that really opens up when it comes to Darnold. So again, I don't know how competitive your league is. Should have already been rostered. If you need a quarterback, he's available. Yeah, he'd probably be the top guy this week. Now, Braylon Allen should have already been rostered as a cuff or as a low-end RB2. If he's available, yeah, I'd be going after him. Other guys that I would be going after with higher upsides. So like primarily this would be as, a potential league winner that I'm going to have on the bottom of my roster with some standalone value. And if I'm a Breece Hall owner, like definitely I would be dropping a huge amount. Like what's the season worth to you when it comes down to that? Now, Rome is one of those guys that is available in my main money league, and that's because like the guy dropped him. I didn't have a roster spot to pick him up. I did see he's about like 60 to 70% of leagues if he's available. Yeah, I don't know to tell you at that point because I was a little surprised he got dropped in that league. And then Khalil Shakur, I went and looked him up. He's about like 60 to 70% of leagues that I saw. Another guy that should have been drafted in this case. Monday night game, 6 for 6 for 72, 1 touchdown. Does look like he's going to be the number 1 or number 2 attached to Josh Allen at this point. So like they're going to have some value. And we're talking about like wide receiver 2 land. Because of what Andy Dalton did, now we can start talking about like Jonathan Brooks coming off the pup. So if he's been dropped in your league because of how bad they looked, again, I don't want pieces of bad offenses. I want pieces of good offenses. This would move Jonathan Brooks back on the table. He is not available in my less competitive league. So again, like, I don't know. Again, I was looking up ahead of time. I think he's about 65% of leagues. So again, those would be the priorities. The rest of the guys, I'll kind of differentiate between like the after waivers guys that I really like, and then the guys that are chasing the dragon that I don't really like this week. So Malik Willis, I would be rolling. I don't know what the situation is going to be with Jordan Love this week, and with that Minnesota, like, we're going to blitz you until you die. I don't know if this is going to be the week they roll Jordan Love out. So again, probably if I can't get my Sam Darnold shares, Malik Willis is going to be good enough. When it comes to the red rifle, like, your guess is good as mine. He did this before. Last year in week 3, he steps in and does 23 points. So again, would not be surprising that this day remains somewhat consistent, especially against like the Bengals who got torched tonight. So like, yeah, Andy Dalton would be like a higher end streamer if I'm just trying to finish out my quarterback position. Justin Fields, less interested in this, but this is going to be another one of those guys. Like, if I'm trying to win my leagues, I want guys with rushing upside. If they don't have rushing upside, probably not going to be a guy I'd be chasing in this case. So that even goes back to Sam Darnold. Part of the reason why Sam Darnold is interesting is because he has enough rushing upside to push him into another tier. Now, with Justin Fields, like, this offense has been really conservative, and their defense is probably good enough to lose them a Super Bowl. So I don't know how much you're going to be getting that consistency. The rushing work just hasn't been there. So he fell into the end zone this week. I don't know how much that's going to be consistent. Now, if I'm chasing this Bo Nix, that rushing upside has been consistent. And if there's enough upswing when it comes to Bo Nix, now, would I be rolling him out this week against the Jets? Probably not. But would I be stashing him? Yeah, probably at that point, relative to some of the other guys. If I can't get my Sam Darnold shares that are out there, then I'd probably be looking at Andy Dalton. If I want to get a little spicy and hold on to Malik Willis to find out what goes on with Jordan Love, this would be after waivers. And then finally, like Danny Dimes, like, I'm not touching him with your roster, but it would be like, not good to look at the fact he's thrown 2 touchdown passes 2 weeks in a row. He does theoretically have rushing upside. So like, yeah, but I'm not interested in any of these guys. Like the one guy that I would feel good that I could have a league winning type quarterback would be Sam Darnold at this point if he's available. Bucky Irving. So I just got done with after waivers doing all the snap shares, and Rachaad White was still at 70% snaps. Now, is Bucky Irving better than Rachaad White? Probably. That's not the conversation of this show. It's, you're going to buy a guy that right now looks like he's going to be about like 30% snaps. Even if he's very efficient, it just becomes an issue is if he's going to be on the field enough to make him relevant. So if I'm I would be cuffing, if he's still available, he shouldn't be available. I don't know how competitive your league is. Shouldn't be available. I would be cuffing him if I'm a Rachaad White owner. I don't know how much league winner there will be in Bucky Irving if Rachaad White goes down, because some of these like smaller like scat backs, I don't know if they're going to get like the full design receiving work to go along with red zone work. And again, even the Buccaneers, I don't know how good they're going to be. So maybe low end standalone value, definite cuff, definite like league winner like lottery ticket at that point. But again, like he should have already been rostered at that point. I'm a little concerned that I don't know if he's actually going to have that road to win leagues, but we can talk about that. Like, yeah, it's still trending in the right direction. Now, the guy that would be more interesting for me is Tyrone Tracy, 31% snaps, 5 for 23 with this Giants offense, 2 for 17. And Devin Singletary has fumbled in the back-to-back weeks. So again, the stash that I want, relative to have to go chase the dragon on Bucky Irving would probably be like Tyrone Tracy. Now, Cam Akers, another guy. I'm actually not interested. When I saw the snap share, 43% snaps. I believe that Dario was at like 30-something% snaps in this game. Negative script because they were getting blown out. But the bigger thing is like that ceiling is going to be capped because of Dario being used in the passing game. Now, the other thing to look at if I'm chasing Cam Akers going into next week is going to be the fact that like he needs both Joe Mixon mixed time and Damian Pierce to miss more time with a hamstring. So I have him in both leagues. I don't know if I would be interested in rolling them. There probably could be guys that I would be more interested in rolling than going after like Cam Akers if I need like a 1 week rental. That guy would be Cordell Patterson. So right now you're looking at Najee with an elbow and you're looking at Jaylen Warren with a knee. So the guy that I would be probably stashing and hoping that I get lucky that a couple backs don't become active, just like Cam Akers, would probably be a 33-year-old Cordell Patterson. And I did see some highlights of him finishing the game off against the Chargers. He looked good. So like, if you're wondering about like him being spent, like, yeah, I thought he looked good enough as a 1 week rental, especially as a lottery ticket. Again, a lot of these guys, especially I'll talk about like Jawan Jennings here in a second, is what's a win worth to you? And you'll go ahead and look at your opponents for the next couple of weeks. Go like, see if there's a guy that's going to be slotting in some of these guys down the line. What's a win worth to me? It can be worth as much as a block. And I talked about like Wayne Gallman years ago, like story time, where I didn't block Wayne Gallman because I'm like, he's not good at football. Then he scores 2 touchdowns and I lose the week. So again, look at the guy that you're going to be playing. Go, will this guy use him against me? Yes, then I have to attack him just as much as I would be attacking a 1 week rental for me, even if I wouldn't end up using those guys. So again, with some of these guys, if they're going to be roster cloggers for me, I want them to be roster clogger for somebody else. But if someone's going to use them against me, I don't want that to happen just as much as I want that 1 week rental that can win me a week. That's this way I look at it. Antonio Gibson, he should probably have been rostered last week as either a cuff to Ramondre or potentially like a lottery ticket. But Ramondre was only about 40% snaps. He did have fumble, negative game strip, which would project this week against 49ers. 37% snaps for Antonio Gibson, 5 for 29, 3 for 3 for 8 in the passing game in this one. And then I did see that Ramondre did leave the game with a finger. So, expecting that Ramondre is more than likely going to be limited. I would expect that Ramondre will play at this point. But again, like somebody that I don't have to be spending on if he's available in my leagues. I don't know how many leagues like Antonio Gibson is going to be available. But the bell of the ball, to give away some after waivers, Roschon Johnson. So you're looking at like 37% snaps, 8 for 30, 5 for 4 for 32. Some of those offenses that we thought were going to be good are going to be bad. We're talking about the Bears, but then again, if they're going to be passing like they did, and they look better at the, going up against a really bad Colts team at this point, like DeAndre Swift has not been efficient. Like 53% snaps, 13 for 20, 4 for 4 for 2. In this one, Khalil Herbert, 10% snaps, 4 for 9. Roschon's the guy. And then Travis Homer went on IR with a finger. And again, I'm going to just say like that was probably bullshit. But besides that, like this would be one of the ones that like, if I'm going to be knife fighting for certain guys in my league, having the opportunity to go after a guy like Roshan, league winner, full, 3-down back, can pass block, is a bulldozer. Like I actually had him ranked above Bijan when I was breaking this stuff down, and that was purely based upon the amount of capital that you'd have to put in to go get Roshan as a 3-down back versus Bijan. This is not a conversation about like who's better at football. This is like, I would rather have 4th-round draft pick Roshan Johnson than have to go up and, like, I think it was 9th overall that the Falcons spent on Bijan, because like, I can get a guy that's gonna be like very serviceable, and I can get pass blocking reps out of him in a way that like Bijan, again, I'm not going to slam a sports car into a brick wall. So that's what I got for running backs this week. Moving on to the wide receivers, Jawan Jennings. So when you're right, you're right. I did talk about this, that like, those vacated targets have to go someplace. Now, did I think he was going to put up like 12 for 11, 175 and 3 touchdowns? No. But again, with Kittle being out, Brandon Ayuk looking like he's hungover, and Debo being out, CMC being out, those targets have to go someplace. So again, you're gonna be looking at guessing that like both Kittle remains out with that hamstring and Debo's out. Now Debo is tracking on being out. Christian McCaffrey still on IR. So at this point, like when we were looking at like Jawan Jennings, you're probably buying some type of like ugly RB2 or wide receiver 2, and it just becomes an issue of like, when are you going to use him in the next couple of weeks before Debo comes back? And Brandon Ayuk actually goes back to one of the better wide receivers in the league. That's what I'd be looking at with Jennings. And you have to weigh this not just from a standpoint of your roster, because you're probably going to get something along the lines of like 6 for 60 with a chance of a touchdown. So again, like a 40-degree day with a little bit of upside. That's primarily what you're going to be looking at with Jennings going forward. More concerned that he would be on someone else's roster for the next couple of weeks. I don't know how he wins me a league. I've brought this up before. Like, these guys don't interest me if I can't tell a story how he wins me a league. So going back to some of these other guys, like with your Rome, again, I don't know how competitive your league is. Like, 60, 70% of leagues he's rostered. If he's not available, if he's available in my league, I'm dumping a sizable amount. Rome can win me a league. Khalil Shakur can win me a league. Jawan Jennings, he can win me a week. And that's the big difference. He can also lose me a week if he's on like my opponent's roster at this point going forward, probably for the next couple of weeks until we figure out what's going on with Debo. Jalen Nailor. So I did see the comment about this, about like rolling Jalen Nailor, being happy that you get your 40-degree day because he scores that touchdown. Again, the king of fantasy football is always going to be opportunity. You got to be on the field. We can track the opportunities. So yeah, would I have been rolling Jennings over Nailor? Probably, because Brandon Ayuk is hungover. And I can maybe guess that I would get some type of wide receiver 1 role. With Jalen Nailor, I know I'm buying wide receiver 2. Now, I think the process is correct with both of these guys, and it just becomes an issue like, you'll pick your poison. How do you want to lose? How do you want to win your week when it comes down to that? Now, with Jalen Nailor, if you're chasing this, you're primarily hoping that you get another week with Jordan Addison out. And who knows on that one when it comes down to that. I like Jalen Nailor. I remember looking at him when he was at Michigan State. He's a good football player. I didn't watch Jawan Jennings when he was at Tennessee. So like, that's the difference between these two guys. Seeing the opportunity, there's always going to be a possibility of a spike week across from Justin Jefferson when certain teams want to take Justin Jefferson away. Then you're going to get the spike week off of that. So like, can I see that, if everything goes the right way, Jordan Addison's out, they decide, Green Bay decides they're going to take away Justin Jefferson, and then you're getting this week, or the last week's Jawan Jennings is this week's Jalen Nailor. If that makes sense. Pop Douglas, don't care. 83% snaps, 9 for 7, 69. Horizontal targets, low ADOT, bad offense, don't care. Trey Tucker, maybe a little bit more interesting, 81% snaps. Remember, this is like mostly a negative game script. Going back to last year, he's a burner, 9 for 7, 96, and a touchdown. I'm a little bit more interested if I need that like type of like chasing the dragon, boom bust wide receiver 3 in this one. Michael Williams, he's going to pop up. Now, first of all, we got to talk about 96% snaps, 9 for 8 for 64 in this one. The other thing is, theoretically, he could be the number 2 in this offense if Trey McBride misses with a concussion at this point. So like, he would pop up for me. Another thing, tracking the reactive stuff that we couldn't have predicted going into the week. The Red Rifle's good at football, and Adam Thielen goes down with a hamstring. First round draft pick Xavier Leggett, he would be the guy that I would be going after if I want to be chasing a little bit of like upside, with the possibility I can win a few weeks because of the Adam Thielen injury. Tutu Atwell, not going to be interested in him. More than likely, I don't know how repeatable this is. 5'9", 165 burner. Not saying he's bad at football. It's just really difficult for some of these guys. I didn't even put Calvin Austin up here. I should have been putting Calvin Austin up. But again, these guys, I don't know how they win me leagues. And I'm usually not particularly scared of them being rolled against me because I don't know if I get much more than like a 40-degree a day out of some of these guys. And then Andrea Yosivas, he's going to pop back up tonight, 7 for 5 for 52 and a touchdown. I don't have the snap shares yet, but this was with T. Higgins. So this is what we thought we were going to get before all the wide receiver shenanigans for the Bengals, wide receiver 3. And again, now we can see probably what he will be closer to a week-to-week basis with him, like 5 for 7 for 50 and a chance of a touchdown. He is the red zone guy. This is what would make him more interesting if we can actually get a functional Bengals offense when it comes down to that. All right, finishing off tight ends. Don't know who's available in your league. Cole Kmet, I could definitely see him being, either not drafted. He shouldn't have been drafted, in my opinion. And if he was dropped, if he's available, with theoretically the offense looking better and Keenan Allen maybe being out with a heel. If Cole Kmet's the number 3 in the offense, yeah, he's a week-to-week play at that point. Brenton Strange, chasing him, 68% snaps, 6 for 3, 65 last week against Cleveland. This week, don't have the snap share yet, but 5 for 2 for 12 and a touchdown. So those 5 targets plus red zone opportunity, that would make him a streamer at this point if you're into that type of thing. But I'd be more interested in Zach Ertz. This offense looks like it's getting better and better. They get into a shootout with the Bengals and are able to win. So 5 for 5 for 38. No Ben Sinnott that I saw at this point. So like he's going to be in a very limited category of potential unicorns. Now, this gets fun. I would not be rolling out Tucker Kraft if Malik Willis is the quarterback. I would be rolling out Tucker Kraft if Jordan Love is quarterback. Now, here's the other asterisk to this. If Jordan Love gets rolled out and Tucker Kraft misses because he missed with a shoulder, he's coming off that pec tear in the offseason, Luke Musgrave would jump all the way up in the stream ability. Again, if they're a tight end, they can't break my heart. Luke Musgrave has the better athletic measurables. And I don't know how competitive your league is at this point, but with potentially Tank Dell missing with, I think it was like a hand and a shoulder or something like that, this would move Dalton Schultz up into the number 3 range. So if he's available, like we can start talking about him potentially having the ability to now being fantasy relevant after a number of weeks of like, he probably should be dropped in most leagues. But again, if you can see the future and go like, well, Tank Dell's going to miss. Now I get the number 3 attached to CJ Stroud. That's a good thing. I like that. He's been fantasy relevant before. When we're talking about defenses this week, the 3 defenses that I think would be available that I would be streaming, you could go Tennessee against Miami and Miami against Tennessee. Either one, you're looking at like 2 bad quarterbacks, like Will Levis, potentially Skylar Thompson. Like, yeah, if you're into that type of thing. The other one, because of how bad Jacksonville looked tonight, now you're looking at the Texans. If they're available, that would probably be the number 1 streamer versus some of the other ones. There's some other good matchups out there, but these would be defenses that I think would already be rostered. I don't know if the Texans are going to be rostered at this rate going into the week going forward. So that's about all I got for chasing the dragon for week 3. And again, like the main guys like Sam Darnold, Braylon Allen, Rome, Khalil Shakur, Jonathan Brooks, if they're available, Malik Willis, if a streamer, Andy Dalton, if you're into that type of thing, Justin Fields, probably not. Bo Nix as a sneaky stash. Daniel Jones not with your roster. Bucky Irving should have already been rostered. Not too interested in Cam Akers as a 1-week rental. Really interested in Cordell Patterson as a 1-week rental if I get lucky on all this stuff. Okay, Antonio Gibson, Roshan, definitely. Really thinking about this one as a stash. Same thing with like Tyrone Tracy at this point. Not too interested in Jawan Jennings as a couple week rental wide receiver 2. More interested in making sure he's not going to be on my opponent's roster at this point. Do like Jalen Naylor if Addison misses another week. Not interested in Pop Douglas. Trey Tucker, not interested in, or a little bit of interest in Trey Tucker. A little bit more interest in Michael Wilson if Trey McBride misses. I like Xavier Leggett as a lottery ticket. Not interested in Tutu Atwell. Yosivas, wide receiver 3. And then Cole Kmet, if he's available. Brent Strange, streamer. Zach Ertz would be very interesting. And then these 2 Packers tight ends would depend on a whole bunch of variables, and Dalton Schultz if he's available. Titans and Dolphins and Texans. And that's what I got for chasing the dragon. And see you guys on After Waivers tomorrow.